Alright, so I just came across a video that's basically a critique on the primal diet and carnivore diet, etc. So let's play the video.
Why are people so obsessed with our ancestors and their weird primal lifestyles? Anytime I mention that seed oils or processed foods are completely safe, I get flooded with comments about how our ancestors never ate.
With seed oils, I don't eat seed oils, but I'm also not a fan of the fear mongering. So I think you should focus on whole foods like avocados, nuts, and seeds, not focus on seed oils. I personally avoid them. But also the fear mongering is pretty exaggerated. And all these takes from goat is that seed oils cause heart disease, and that's why heart disease is increasing. They're just false. It's just misinformation. Heart disease has been decreasing for the last 50 years, but at the same time, I personally don't get seed oils.
Rate that stuff, so we shouldn't either. But why would you ever look to our ancestors for health advice?
Yeah, there's no evidence that our ancestors were great health examples, basically.
Yeah, they rarely died from heart disease or cancer, but that's not because they avoided processed foods. It's because they were lucky if they made it past 30.
I don't know why the primal people, they keep missing this point. It's to me, it's so obvious. Obviously they didn't get cancer because they didn't live long enough. These long lifespans that we have, they're so recent. So of course that right now we're having diseases like heart disease and cancer being way more common than they were before because the lifespans are way longer. To me, it's pretty obvious, but a lot of people still don't get it.
In fact, they were lucky to make it past 5. Now, I know the primal crowd isn't usually convinced by science or data, but by their own standards, our ancestors were beta as fuck. They were super scrawny and weak because they had almost no access to food, and the average height for males was like 5'5" back then.
Yeah, on average, it was pretty low. You can cherry pick certain tribes that have a really tall height. We are on average taller than ever. And you can cherry pick certain periods in human history, but we're talking about averages here. And malnutrition and starvation and infant mortality, all these things were extremely common for most of human history.
Plus, a small cut on your hand was essentially a death sentence. So if you want to eat steak for every meal and brag about it on social media, go ahead. But just know that's about as far from primal as it gets.
Yep, base steak. Our ancestors, they had massive problems. They didn't have long lifespans. They had really high childhood mortality. They didn't know about germ theory. They used to die all the time just from drinking water. The water wasn't treated. And that's also one argument that I like, because I've seen the argument of, oh, we've been doing this for millions of years, so we have adapted. For example, we have been drinking untreated water for at least millions of years, and we still haven't adapted. If you drink untreated water, you're going to be risking getting an infection or something really serious. Even today, untreated water kills a ton of people. That's why Africa has such high infant mortality. It's because of sources like untreated water. So despite millions of years of exposure, we still haven't adapted. We partially adapted, but not fully, and that's enough to kill us. So just because we have been exposed to something for thousands or millions of years, that doesn't necessarily mean we have adapted. All the studies point in the same direction. If you look at independent studies, red meat, for example, even though we have been eating it for millions of years, it still increases heart disease rates. So just because we have been exposed to something for a very long time, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have adapted. These things are not predictable. We have to look at outcomes. So yeah, base video, they should be stopped. They should be silenced. This should be illegal. Paul Saladino, for example, he doesn't even eat carnivore anymore, but he made millions from promoting the carnivore diet by selling books about it. And now he said that he doesn't eat carnivore anymore because it made him sick all the time. This should be illegal. Getting rich from misinformation like that, which nowadays is a norm, by the way, on social media. Yeah, I don't know how this is legal. It probably isn't, to be honest. But yeah, this video was pretty based. People like Gotis and Paul Saladino need to be stopped, and they don't know what they're talking about.